Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Dashcast. I am Curtis Dash, and joined with me, as always, is my unhappy co-host, Brandon Colongo, because, as everybody knows, you got the game, what is this, Game 5 for the Heat-Lakers series, and that's what we're kind of talking about today. We're talking about the NBA Finals on this clip, and Brandon has kind of had a hard go of it lately, and to his credit, for very, very good reason. Now, he wants to tell you why this means really nothing for LeBron's legacy and why the Heat still might have a shot here. Try to give you some enthusiasm. Brandon, what do we got?
You have no enthusiasm, I'm sorry. I, as you know, picked the Heat in 6, and I made that pick, of course, before Dragic went down. So first off, let's just talk about how great this Heat team played to get to where they were. But let's not also forget the fact that they were a 75-1 underdog to win the finals to start the year. And then you lose your leading scorer in the playoffs. Dragic goes down in the first quarter with a plantar tear. He will not be back, I doubt, because, it's a
We
tear.
saw him try to practice, man, and that was rough. I feel for the guy.
So, you already take a team that's a huge underdog. Get rid of our leading scorer. We lost Bam for a game. Granted, Jimmy Butler played out of his mind, dropped 40, outplayed LeBron in every way, shape, and form. And that's the start of exactly why this ring is nothing for LeBron besides one more notch in the belt on his way to catching Kobe, and ultimately, if he catches Jordan, opening the GOAT debate.
I think it's interesting about that because as much as it really only means that one thing for his legacy, I do agree. I think it is an interesting kind of concept about him winning this ring in LA because that'll be three different teams: Cleveland, Heat, and then one in the West and the Lakers that he's won a ring on. Do you think that's anything to kind of spout about or no?
Easier. I argue that that's easier. In my opinion, it's more impressive that Kobe did it with two different Laker teams.
Yeah, I would agree with that too because you're not basically going to the stacked team, aka like the Warriors.
Right. Yeah. You got to get You got to get your what's it called? Your timing together. You got to get your chemistry together. But you're still joining the most talented team. So he started the super team trend when he joined the Heat. I know a lot of people try to say that it's the Celtics that started that, but it's not because the Celtics never had a player that was being considered the GOAT. Let's be honest about what Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett really were. And Rondo, of course, playoff Rondo is phenomenal. So I give you that. But, LeBron was the best player in the league at the time. And then when he picked up and moved to what would become obviously the best team, just that is not quite as impressive to me as someone that was able to be drafted in LA. And granted, they had Shaq, but, no, it's more impressive that Kobe did it with Shaq and then proved, hey, I can do it with this other team too. I can do it with Pau. Similar to how Wade said, hey, I can do it with Shaq and I can also do it with LeBron.
Yeah, I think that's very. I never really thought about it that way. It absolutely is probably harder to go through it with one team because odds are you're dealing with multiple regimes in front of house. If you're lucky enough to be one of those players like Kobe that kind of gets to be in one spot, even though he did kind of want out. And to his credit, what player at one point during the playing for a really really crappy team are you just like, bro, I can't do this anymore? And I understand some frustration building up, but this isn't about Kobe, the late great Bryant, but this is about LeBron here. And I'm really starting to wonder where he's even going to retire. I mean, I know a lot of people will say it's a little early to kind of talk about that, but we got to kind of start at least mentioning it, right? I mean, yeah, he's been in his prime longer than a lot of other players have, but I mean, how many more teams is he going to jump before he retires? Could we see him in a Warriors uniform, a Timberwolves uniform before this is all over, What do you think about that going on there?
I say it's far more likely he ends his career in LA because he's trying to get into show business and doing all this other kind of stuff, shooting Space Jams and things like that. I think LA made the most sense, and that he's at a point in his career now where he's trying to maybe set up for the later end of his life and maybe get some movies and things like that. I know he likes to speak on topics, even though I tend to disagree with what he says almost without fail. But that's besides the point. Obviously, that's what he wants to do, and so he's putting himself in that position. I see it unlikely that he goes to another team, but potentially Golden State Warriors. I wouldn't I wouldn't ride that off because that's not too far. It's kind of in the ballpark there. I could see him staying in that little area.
Man, that would be absolutely ridiculous. Now, I don't foresee it really happening, but let's go ahead and jump to the other side of the ball because I kind of want to talk about the Heat, obviously. When it
Hmm.
comes to a lot of that stuff, I want to talk about Jimmy Buckets and maybe his future with this Miami Heat team now. They don't really need a superstar. The Heat are, I mean, I still think they have a really good chance to be good next year as well.
Hmm.
They'll be a force to be reckoned with. Now they won't be able to fly under the radar kind of like they did this time.
Right.
Um, but they'll still have a shot here. Now, what do you think Jimmy Bucket's outlook on this team is like if the Heat don't come back and try to win this finals here?
No, obviously he's the reason why we were even there. I mean, he had this team believing, and yeah, I genuinely believe that he believed that they were not underdogs. The Heat team didn't think that either, and he had them all believing that. Obviously, his future with us needs to be we need to keep him as long as he'll stay. And what we need to do is probably just put one big piece there. We need a big man, so we need to figure out a way to get a big man. And obviously Bam for what he does is great, but we need to be able to pound down low every once in a while and get some rebounds because our big Achilles heel right now is rebounding. So what I see more so is we need some type of big presence who with some strong leadership in a position there to even compete with KD being a 7-footer because we're gonna have to get out of our
Yeah,
own division too.
I forgot that
Uh,
that's a thing. Oof.
I would have loved to see him be more aggressive in the last game. I think he had lots of bunny shots that he took in the game before and hit where he scored 40. I think we need him to score at least 30. And I don't know. I would have liked to see Jimmy Butler be a little bit more aggressive. We don't really have a guy that you can go to 100% get a bucket in the sense that like the Lakers have the two best players on the court in LeBron and Anthony
AD,
Davis.
yeah.
I would say Jimmy Butler is probably the third best player on the court. And so, our team needed to we rely on him to be able to go and hit some of those shots. So, especially without Dragic. If we had Dragic, totally different story. Jimmy Butler can get away with playing exactly the way he did, and I think that I still would have liked our chances. But, uh, but yeah, without Dragic, he should have been a little bit more aggressive in terms of scoring first.
Yeah, it's kind of obviously speaking on the future real quick before I move ahead. Yeah, the Miami Heat need to keep Buckets as long as he'll stay, as long as he will stay, and I think he'll probably stay. I don't foresee Butler wanting to leave. He's probably enjoying
No,
it.
Miami is a great place to play.
Great place to play. Hey, no state taxes. He's making more money than he would, so good on him.
Pat Riley,
Oh, Pat Riley, one of the greatest
Eric
basketball
Spoelstra, they
minds of
have
all
good
time.
coaches, and good players like
Great
to be coached
staff.
hard.
Yeah, I mean, I don't foresee him wanting out of there by any means. But that the East is only getting tougher with KD and Kyrie coming back, and the
Mm-hmm.
Brooklyn Nets are just going to look ridiculous. I do agree with you. The Heat maybe do need a big man or a power forward, somebody that can stretch to where you can pound down low, but maybe stretch outside a little bit. That'd be nice. That's kind of the way the game's rolling anyway. I don't know. Let's go ahead and kind of talk about Game 5 for tonight. However, um, I've got to say, we were talking about our predictions before I hit the record button, and this is something that both of us were like, well, we don't want to be right in our Lakers picks at all, especially with the Heat being there, because that's not something either of us thought was going to happen. What I'm
Mm-hmm.
curious about here is what is it going to take? I know you kind of touched on it for the Heat to win it, but for the Lakers to lose this, what is going to need to happen on the Lakers side of the ball for the Heat to win?
The Lakers need to leave the Heat in the game. If the Lakers leave the Heat in the game and then miss late game free throws, that's what the Lakers need to do to lose the game. Pretty much. I don't. Uh, I'm not making a pick this game. I'll tell you that.
um, I feel like for the Heat to win this game, they're definitely gonna. Yeah, obviously, if the Lakers let them stay in it, and if it's like a 5 point game or something like that, I really do like Miami's chances. We've seen Hero go off repeatedly. We've seen Buckets go off repeatedly. If Bio is getting a little bit more healthy, maybe he'll pick it up. Not having Dragic here is a pain. Everybody knows I've only got love for the Dragon, so that's no fun. I will be ballsy. I will make the pick tonight. For my pick to be correct, I need the Heat to win this game, so I'm actually going to go with the Heat tonight, just for my own ego's sake. I don't think I'll be right, but I'm going to go with the Heat. Why not? Why can't they win this
Yeah.
game?
I mean, well, you know what they say. I mean, the hardest time to put a team down is when they're,
Got their back
you know,
against the wall.
exactly when they're fighting for their life. So, I mean, yeah, I'm not. You can't put. I'm not going to put too much stake in this game. I know the Lakers are wearing their like patented like Kobe
Blackout.
Bryant
Yeah.
jerseys. That's probably gonna they're probably going to have a thing like that on a board somewhere in the Heat locker room. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it will be a heck of a finals. And either way, we're proud of the Heat for doing what they did, and I'm sure Jimmy Buckets wants more injuries. It's just not fair. But we're gonna go ahead and wrap this cast up, wrap this clip up for you guys. As always, please like, comment, share, subscribe. Tell us what you want to talk about. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. Tell Brandon that Brady's the worst. I don't care. We'll go ahead and see you guys next clip. Just be ready for some more NFL pick'em action, and hopefully the next time you hear us talk about the NBA, we'll be talking about the Heat coming back to win the series. We'll see you next clip.